third reason it gives donors bad information, and I'm sure you live this a lot. You don't know how the charity's defining the cause, all right? The more broadly the organization defines the cause, the more money they can tell people is going to the cause. So looking at our soup kitchens again, A actually had 20% fundraising cost, 10% administrative cost, but when it came time to do their annual report, they said, hey, that 20% admin fundraising cost, that was people talking about the cause a lot. Let's call that part of the cause, and we'll tell donors that 90%, 20 plus 70 of their donation went to the cause. Soup Kitchen B is more conservative. They say we're not going to call that 20% fundraising cost part of the cause, and we'll tell the public that 70% of their donation went to the cause. So Soup Kitchen A has really aggressive program accounting, and many of the big charities do, and they have horrible services, and they look better on paper than Soup Kitchen B, which does really conservative accounting and has better programs. What an injustice. And this question institutionalizes that injustice. So why do we ask it? Well, we're trained to ask it. We're trained to ask it, I'm sorry, this is a little recap for college students who don't pay attention as well as you all do. We're trained to ask it by the three watchdog agencies, Charity Navigator, the Better Business Bureau, Wise Giving Alliance, and the American Institute of Philanthropy, who are amplified by the voice of the media. Whenever there's some kind of a disaster, they'll tell you, go to Charity Navigator. Their voice is amplified by the state's attorneys general, many of whom will point you to the Better Business Bureau or Charity Navigator. And then, sadly, by the nonprofit sector itself, which knows that donors want low overhead, so they put the seals of approval of the watchdog agencies on their website, making donors think low overhead is indeed the best thing to ask about. This is the Attorney General for the state of Washington on a local news broadcast called, of all things, Scam Buster.
So right now, Attorney General McKenna, people want to give, but are there a lot of bogus charities out there right now?
There absolutely are. The holiday season seems to raise a new crop of scams and con artists out there every single year.
Can you give us a list of types of questions that you can ask?
Well, I always like to know how much of the money I'm donating is going to go to the end purpose as opposed to being sucked up by administration and overhead. And they should be able to tell you what percentage of the money you donate will be used for the right purpose and how much of it will be eaten up by administration and overhead.
Eaten up overhead, sucked up overhead. No wonder we're not getting any permission to spend money on overhead. This is a local news program in Missouri. The woman on the street that's interviewed actually gives the closest thing to the right answer to the question, but listen to what the anchor says.
With more than 800,000 organizations, how do you choose where your hard-earned money goes?
You have to have trust in everyone that it's going to go to the right, who they say it's going to.
Wrong answer. Attorney General Jay Nixon and the Better Business Bureau warn consumers, don't donate to charities that eat up more than 35% of your money in administrative costs.
I think it was Doctors Without Borders ate up more than 35% of donations in administrative costs in 1995, and they won the Nobel Prize for their work with landmines. This is Ken Berger, who's the head of Charity Navigator, in his YouTube 2008 Christmas giving tips. You can predict where this is going to go.
We want to make sure that every single penny that you give, we want to help you to make sure that that giving is as effective as possible so that you can give the most you possibly can to the best charities that are out there. The best charities out there from our research have 75% or more of every dollar that you give going to program services, going to the cause that you care about, and 25% or less to fundraising and administrative overhead. That's the kind of charity you want to look for.
He used the word effectiveness
So
very specifically.
we want to make sure
tied it
that
to
every
low
single
overhead.
penny that you give, we want to help you to make sure that that giving is as effective as possible.
Here's the problem. Charity Navigator does not measure program effectiveness. Indeed, on their 2009 website right now, it says at this time evaluating the effectiveness of a charity's programs is out of our scope. Now, what on earth are they doing going around telling people they know what the most effective charities are when they don't do any measurement of the effectiveness of charities? What's worse about all of this is how small these watchdog agencies are. I don't fault them for that. They actually ought to get an award for what they've managed to do with so few resources. But between them, they have about 24 total staff, or next to no one compared to the 10 million people employed in the nonprofit sector. In terms of annual budget, they have about $3 million, or next to nothing, compared to the $300 billion Americans give to charity every year. In terms of the number of charities they look at in total, if there aren't any duplicates, and surely there are, they have records on 6,800 charities, next to none compared to the roughly 800,000 active nonprofit organizations in America, and none of them measures program effectiveness. Now, I don't blame them for that. Program effectiveness is tricky and it's very expensive. But what we have here in the United States essentially is next to no one, spending next to nothing, measuring next to no organizations, and training the public to ask the wrong question about charity. So I'll wrap up so that we can have some time for questions, but on a tactical level, there are a few things we need to do. As a sector, we need to stop using this word overhead. We need to start educating donors about the need for organizational strength and organizational capacity and long-term results if we're ever going to solve some of these problems that confront us. We have to train donors, starting at the board level, to stop asking this question, which only reinforces the idea of overhead as a negative and isn't giving them any good information anyway about what percentage of their donation goes to the cause. And we have to invest in the United States in some kind of a magnificent assessment apparatus that can provide rich narrative, video, survey, non-financial data on the work that you all are doing and put it on an iTunes-like easy user interface so that your grandmother can go on it and get some really useful information about the work that the organization is doing. On a more philosophical level, we need to set our sights on our dreams again. You know, we need to set ambitious goals for the solving of problems instead of setting mediocre goals for keeping overhead at some particular level. It will be more inspiring to donors, I promise you. We'll raise more money and we'll actually have a shot at solving some of the great problems that confront us. So thank you very much for listening.